Today we're diving into one of the, I would say, biggest traps that I see that consultants or service providers or agency owners are doing when it comes down to sales. And in the moment, it feels harmless. It feels like you're flexible. It feels like you're thinking along with the prospect and your potential client. But actually what it does, it shifts the entire power in the conversation. Welcome to the Bold Business Owners podcast. In this podcast, I'm sharing with you inspiration, lessons, tips, and actionable strategies to make your own bold business and life happen. Who's your host? My name is EJ, and in the past decade as a strategy consultant, I advised numerous organizations in growing a business in line with their vision and purpose. It is now my mission to help entrepreneurs with the exact same tools and methods to create a strategy that works for them, all so that they can build a more profitable business on their own terms. This is the Bold Business Owners podcast. Now, a sales conversation is not a power struggle. So it's not about pushing someone in the sales conversation, but it is about who is in control of the conversation, who is leading the conversation, and who is the expert. And in this case, when you're selling your services, you basically are the expert in that case, because someone comes to you with a problem that they want help solving, and you are there to help them solve that problem. But once you do this small thing that a lot of people do, and you won't be the first one if you're doing this, a lot of things in that conversation will shift. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about letting your prospect dictate the price. So it might look like this. You were just having a conversation with your client and they just mention, like, I don't have that much money. You have to know that I'm tight on budget right now, or we only have this budget to solve this problem. And when you hear that a client says, okay, my budget is this, or I don't have that much money, what happens internally within yourself is that without consciously knowing it or realizing it, is that you are mentally already adjusting the offer to meet their budget and their expectations. So in your mind, you might already go, okay, if that's the budget and you feel like I want to sign this client because I really want to help them, or maybe it's because you need this project to land because you need the money maybe, or maybe you just feel like, okay, I really want to do this project. If that is the case, then in your mind, you'll already start cutting up the scope. You already start thinking about different types of deliverables, thinking how you can make it work for them to meet their budget requirements. Even though it seems like it's flexibility towards your client, that you are thinking along with them and see what can work for them, what it actually does is the opposite. Because if your client is leading the conversation, and the pricing conversation in particular, you give your power away in that relationship. Because it basically says, like, I want to have XYZ, I want to reach a certain goal, and I only have this price for it. And you better make it work for me, or I won't work with you. Even though it might not sound like that, still this is actually what's happening. So if they dictate the price, then you give your power away. Your client is looking for a solution, and they want to have the best solution. And usually, if they want to reach a certain goal, they don't really know what is needed to reach that goal, specifically when it comes down to services. Okay? If it's something really tangible, it's really easy to say, okay, you need, for instance, when you build a house, you need the foundation, you need the walls, you need whatever you need to build that structure. And it's very tangible and you can easily put a price tag on it. But when it comes to selling services, people don't really know what is needed to make it happen. And they just think, okay, I have a budget and I still want to have this done, but my budget is this. I want you to fix it for me for that budget. But what you internally might know and feel is that even if they would get started on that whole project or that goal that they have in mind, with that specific budget that they're giving you, they will probably not get the best solution. And yet, even though you know that, what you will do is you will cut back on scope, try to fit it in, try to make it work for them, and then you will make the price work for them as well. A huge mistake. First of all, you need to understand that there is always kind of like a power dynamic in a conversation, in a sales conversation. So in a sales conversation, you are the expert, you are the advisor. They come to you as a buyer. What you're selling is not a commodity, and you know best what is helping them get the success they want. If they are dictating the price, then you are just one of the vendors, one of the suppliers. They can just shop at your business. They can go to another business and ask another quote like, this is the budget, what can you do for me? But this is not the type of conversation that you want to have. You want to be with them on the same side of the table. You want to be with them thinking about the solution for a problem that they have and act as an expert, act as an advisor, telling them how you would solve their problem and what you think with your experience and with your expertise and with the advice that you can give them, with everything you know, you want to give them the best solution. You want to make it work for them, right? And so if you are not sitting with them to solve this problem, but you're on the opposite side, it becomes like this struggle about price, and then price becomes the main factor that is determining whether or not you're going to work together. And it's not about value anymore. It's not about you just losing maybe a couple of thousands of euros on a project to win the client. Actually, what you're losing is authority. And you're losing the ability to influence their decision and to advise them on something that they need help with. Once you start talking just about the price, you're no longer in a position to great advice. And it might have a complete opposite effect of what you want. You want to build trust with your potential client. You want to show that you're flexible, but actually what you're doing is you're giving away your authority and the leadership and the role of the advisor that you can play. And if you do that, you stop leading not only the conversation, but also the project later on. And unconsciously to this client, it also sets like a tone. It sets like the stage. Like if you're already so quick to drop the price like on the first encounter, then what does that say about your expertise and how trustworthy and how much I can trust your solution? Unconsciously also, it might feel that you were never worth the original price. And the problem here is that you never got to explain really why the price was actually not right. If in the end you do want to give a discount or lower the price, you first have to make your client realize what it actually takes. And then you can cut back on scope. But then the client also knows that cutting back on the scope will also impact the results that they want to have. And not only does this change the whole power dynamic and the perception of the client of you, it also creates pressure on your end, because not only have you sold something for a lower price, you might feel resentful afterwards when you work with the client, because the client will still want to have the best result. And because you have now an unrealistic budget, because you lowered the price, you can't actually deliver fully what you wanted to do. And also the client's not happy because they won't get the best outcome and they won't get the full result. The more you do this as well, and if you're not yet deciding for yourself that there are certain things that I don't want to compromise on, I don't want to negotiate on, then slowly but surely what you will do is you will attract and work with more and more clients who are more conscious about price versus the value that you're bringing. So the question here is, do you want to work with clients that actually value your expertise or that are just going in with a budget first? And if this happens long enough and you are not really standing for your value, it can also impact the confidence that you have in your own services and your own pricing, because the more that people ask about the price, the more you will doubt yourself and doubt whether or not your services are actually too expensive. But the thing is, your services are probably not too expensive. It's just the fact that you are not able yet to articulate the value of what you have to offer, and that you have to lead the conversation with the value first. So if you let your clients dictate the price, you don't just lose the profit because you're lowering the price, but actually, more importantly, you lose your positioning, you lose the power in your conversation, and you train everybody, yourself, maybe your team and your client included, that your expertise and advice is flexible and not valuable. So next time when a client is asking about the price or coming in with the price directly, make sure that you have your story ready on what value it is that you bring. And only then you can start talking about the price. Okay, I hope this podcast episode was valuable for you. If it was, please leave me a rating or leave me a comment on Spotify. If you're curious about how you can price your services in a way that you're not undervaluing yourself, I do have a 40-minute masterclass about pricing without undervaluing yourself on my website. I'll put the link in the show notes below so you can check it out. And if you like this episode, then please leave me a 5-star rating and a review so that more people can find my podcast and I can help more people to not undervalue themselves. Okay, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.